In this movie, I'm going to share with you a skin softening technique that will really speed up your overall skin softening workflow. Well, for starters, let's go ahead and zoom in on this photograph so we can see the details that we have. We see the skin's really good. It's practically flawless, right? It's in really good shape. Yet what we want to do is we just want to take a little bit of that edge off, a little bit of texture out of the mix. So how are we going to do that? Well, for starters, what we're going to do, copy that background layer. We can do that by way of shortcut, Command-J on a Mac, Control-J on a PC, or by clicking and dragging this to the new layer icon. Next, we're going to name this layer Soft. So we're going to soften this one. We're going to navigate to our filter pull-down menu, and we're going to choose Other and then High Pass. Now, I've shown this technique before, but I thought it'd be helpful to show it here, just again in a single movie in case you missed that other one. Now, with the High Pass filter, what we can do is we can dial up the radius in order to bring in this brightness, contrast, almost this grayscale view of our photograph. Now, it's not quite grayscale. There's a little bit of color in it, but the higher you go, the more detail you have. And typically, you do this for sharpening. So what we're going to do is go ahead and increase the radius till we see some nice details there. Click OK. And then if we zoom way in on this, you notice that there's quite a bit of color here. So we need to remove those colors by going to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. And we'll go to Hue Saturation. If I increase the saturation, you can really see all those colors there. Desaturate all the way to remove them. Click OK. Next step is going to be going to one of our blend modes, Overlay or Soft Light. I'm going to choose Soft Light here. And when I go to the Soft Light blend mode and look at my before and after, there's before, there's after. We can see that it's really sharpening all those details. We'll be able to see it in areas of high contrast, especially like around the eye. Well, rather than use a regular high pass layer, we're going to invert this layer. Press Command-I on a Mac, Control-I on a PC. That is now inverted or softened those pixels. And if we look at the skin texture, here's our before and then after. Again, just taking the edge off of the sharpness there. Now, one of the things that can happen when you use this technique is that it may not be strong enough for you. Well, you can always go back and add more. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, well, let's zoom out for a second, turn off that layer. We then want to limit this sharpening to the face, right? Because we don't want the hair soft. If you look at the hair before and after, it doesn't look very good at all. So how can we limit it to that specific area? Well, let's click in our background layer. Then we're going to navigate to Select and choose Color Range. Now, we can access color range a number of different ways, but I'm going to click on the skin. I'm going to use Localized Color Clusters here. I'm going to go ahead and decrease my range a little bit, and I'll use the Add Eyedropper to add some more colors to this. And here we can see that I am just adding more colors so that I'm primarily targeting the skin here. This is kind of nice because it's going to actually create a selection for us that will work a little bit like it should, meaning it won't be 100% selected. I'll go ahead and grab this side of the cheek as well, and I'm just clicking and dragging. I can also click and drag around the image here. And again, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be a pretty nice start. I'll go ahead and decrease the range here, and I'm just, kind of tweaking this until I get a decent selection of what I want. Mostly the skin there. That was a mistake. Command-Z that one to undo that there, or grab your minus icon and you can subtract some of these tones, like some of the hair tones there. We don't want those in the mix as well. All right, well, let's go ahead and click OK. Well, now that we have that selection, we can go up to this soft light layer and then click on the Add Layer Mask icon. Now we have this layer mask that was created based on that color range adjustment. Now, this particular adjustment has some rough edges, right? So we can grab our brush tool, sweeten it up a little bit by painting with white. I'll go ahead and paint with 100% opacity here because I know that I want all this detail brought back in. And again, this is going to vary on an image by image case, but basically it's a real nice quick way to get a rough selection. In this case, I'll go down to 60% here, and I'm just going to paint away some of these details, not quite as strong as I did on the other side, just to bring some of those in here as well. All right, well, so far so good. Let's press the X key and then 0 so you can paint at 100%. We definitely don't want to sharpen the eye, right? There we go. And we definitely also don't want to sharpen the hair. So I'm just going to fix up my mask a little bit here. And that color range trick can really help you get a decent selection, a good starting point for working on your skin. It also has some nice edges, nice little gradient edges there that can help out too a little bit. All right, then hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, Option click that. Let's zoom in a little bit. And here we can see our before and then after. If I zoom way in, zoom in even further, here we have our before and then after, and I have to go in pretty far so you can see this because it's a pretty low amount in this case. All right, well, in this juncture, the amount is much too low for my liking. I wish I had done more. And I talked about that previously. Sometimes you get to this point and you realize, I just didn't do it enough. Well, no big deal. Here's what we're going to do. Copy that background layer. We're going to copy it twice. We're going to copy it twice because we'll be doing two things here. We'll go to this background layer. We're going to call this Soft 2, because this will be our second version of softening. And then we're going to name this next layer Soft 3. All right, well, let's go ahead and click and drag this up. All right, let's click in Soft 2, navigate to our Filter, Other, High Pass. This will remember the amount we were on last time. We need to crank this up more because we want to soften this more and really pay attention to the skin, right? So we don't want to be distracted by anything but the skin. So here I can see I'm bringing in some nice detail there. Click OK to apply that. Then we're going to go to Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, Desaturate. And at this juncture, all we need to do is take this to a blend mode of soft light. And then we're going to grab this mask here. Hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, click and drag this to this layer. Now we just have sharpening in those areas of skin. And we can see that the skin is starting to become a little bit more sharp there in those areas. Now we don't want that sharpening. We want the opposite. So we press Command-I on a Mac, Control-I on a PC. Now that's taking off much more of the edge there. If we want even more, we can go to this overlay blend mode. Now there you can see it's really just knocking down the detail. Although one of the problems with this particular type of an effect is I've gone too far. And here you can see it just smooth things out. It looks a little bit mushy. I don't want mushy skin. I want to have nice detail. In this case, I have some good detail. Now what about this top layer? We're going to click in this one. And I'm going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. And here what I'm going to do is crank this amount up even more. And click OK. And then I'll navigate to Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, Desaturate here. And take my blend mode to Soft Light. And then press Command-I. What I'm going to do with this layer is add a little bit of a soft focus effect. Now this is much too strong, right? We'll try it on soft light there. And then we'll take our opacity down. And all that we're interested in doing is just kind of diffusing the image in general. So sometimes what you may want to do with this effect is not even just work on the skin or have one that targets the skin and have another that creates a general soft focus effect. Now in this case, I'm going to a unique place with this image. This is more of like a stylized creative effect. I've gone really far with the overall look and feel of the image from the original file, which was here, to this final version here. Yet I wanted to show that because sometimes it's a combination of both of those techniques which can help you lead to some pretty interesting results. Now, of course, you don't have to go do that soft focus effect. And a lot of times, all that you want to do if we zoom in on the skin is just do something like this, where we're softening that skin, maintaining that pixel structure, and have nice, smooth skin without really degrading the file significantly. It looks realistic. It just takes a little bit of that edge off and makes this image that much better.